The reports are, again, from Shams Charania of The Athletic, that the Dallas Mavericks are going to be selecting Dereck Lively II out of Duke with the number 12 overall selection. Now, here's some of the things that allows you to kind of understand how we got here, okay? At number 10, the Dallas Mavericks selected guard Cason Wallace out of Kentucky on behalf of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, the Oklahoma City Thunder are making the pick on behalf of the Dallas Mavericks because this pick is going to Dallas. And that pick is now in. It is official. Dereck Lively II out of Duke, number 12 selected by Oklahoma City. That pick is going to Dallas in exchange for Cason Wallace and Davis Bertans, who is moving on to Oklahoma City as well. Breaking news on 105 through the Fan is presented by BetQL. Smarter bets start with BetQL. Download the BetQL app or visit BetQL.com today. So to completely reset it for you, the Dallas Mavericks at number 10 selected Cason Wallace out of Kentucky, the guard from the Kentucky Wildcats, and sent Davis Bertans and Cason Wallace to Oklahoma City. The Thunder picked Dereck Lively II on behalf of the Mavericks at number 12. Dereck Lively and a traded player exception coming to Dallas with Davis Bertans moving on to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that gives you the idea of where we are here when it comes to the Dallas Mavericks.
And to give us an idea why people on Twitter seem to hate this move so much, one of the hosts of the KNC Masterpiece, my friend, even though he hates shorts and flavor, Kevin Hageland. Hagee, what's happening, man?
Hold on. Does that mean I've been brought on as the advocate for this pick? And
I don't know. I just think
everyone it's a good pick.
Well, let me help you out here.
Okay,
let me help you out with some numbers here before you jump all over it. So Bobby Marks, salary cap guru, friend of 105 through the Fan these days.
Why'd you say it like that?
I mean, he is.
Okay.
He is. The cap clearing move leaves the Mavericks with $86 million in guaranteed salary. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now that number increases to $93 million if Reggie Bullock's contract is guaranteed. Now, Reggie Bullock's $10.5 million gets guaranteed on June 28th. So that's a new decision that the Mavericks are going to have to make on whether or not they guarantee Bullock's contract going into this upcoming season. They got a week to do that now. However, as Marks points out accurately here, Dallas is over the $136 million cap because of the Kyrie Irving free agent hold. So while there's been some movement here salary cap-wise, the Mavericks still over the $136 million cap because, oh, that's right, they're presumably bringing back Kyrie Irving, to which Kevin Hageland says what?
I mean, I definitely think you're right about that with Kyrie Irving. I also think it'll give you the opportunity, depending on how a couple more things fall that you just addressed, to use the entirety of the mid-level exception, which is something that was not there. We'll see if they actually use this trade exception instead of just letting it fade away like the last one. But so you said Twitter is not super in on this pick. I know Mike Bassick hates this pick and will look to burn things to the ground tomorrow.
Enjoy that.
On KNC.
Oh, man, I have to be there for that, too.
Congratulations.
Dang it.
All right, so let me give you some positives.
Yes, please.
With the caveat that I still think this is an overdraft, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when they were talking about trading back with Atlanta, maybe even at 15, I was like, okay, maybe that's kind of a little bit more the range. But to get off the Davis Bertans contract and still pick the player that they would have taken at 10 anyway, I really like that ingenuity to move off of some money. What I will tell you is this. Dereck Lively's offensive game is all hypothetical and theoretical. You will hear people tell you in AAU basketball and at the combine, he was drilling threes left and right. And that's all fine and well. I'm not disputing that can eventually be the case. I watched him play pretty much every game of his college career, and he is not a three-point shooter in game. So whether or not that develops, whether or not he did that in the AAU circuit, I did not see that in games. So that's going to be problematic. His offense is hugely problematic. However, defensively, he's a stud.
Okay. And that is the primary thing that you need. In fact, Mark Cuban said as much, like the defensive big is where they want. What I want to ask you is, as somebody who watched an obscene amount of Duke basketball, the idea of him as a role threat, how much do you have that? Because when we talk about Luka Doncic and fitting into this offense, that is primary role for big, right? Being able to shoot, that's cute, right? Can you be a roller? Can you finish at the rim? What say you on that for Dereck Lively II?
I do say yes to that, but again, it depends on what your curve is. If your curve is straight away this season, I think people are definitely going to be disappointed. I know you might be like, really? It doesn't seem like the most complicated finish in the world, but I think that's going to take a little bit of time. The one thing that he has working for him is athleticism and wingspan. Like, that is certainly going to help him on the offensive front. And then I'll just say this about the stats before you even ask about the stats. Keep in mind, he was an exceedingly low usage player. I think he played like 20 minutes a game, something like that. He got better as the year went along. I realize you look at his stats, though, they are very disappointing. The dude is a great interior presence and can block shots. He still needs to work on his frame, which will inherently, hopefully, help him with his rebounding, which is also lower than you would hope it would be.
Okay. For those who are just joining us, let's reset here. Kevin Hageland of the KNC Masterpiece joining us here on the Get Right with Reggie KG on 105 through the Fan. The Dallas Mavericks are going to be acquiring Dereck Lively II. For folks who are joining us, the Dallas Mavericks selected Cason Wallace at number 10 on behalf of the Oklahoma City Thunder, while sending Davis Bertans and Cason Wallace to Oklahoma City. In exchange, Dereck Lively II, who was taken officially at number 12 by the Thunder, coming to Dallas along with a traded player exception. So the Mavericks move off of Davis Bertans and send Cason Wallace to Oklahoma City. Dereck Lively at number 12, picked by the Oklahoma City Thunder, coming to the Dallas Mavericks, the talented defensive center out of Duke, now going to be I'm sorry, go ahead.
How are you? Sorry. Yeah, how are you guys feeling about this then? Like, I got to tell you my scouting report. By the way, I hope everyone in TV land who is simulcasting your show is appreciating the Wizard of Oz inspired suit. I'm not kidding about that, worn by Grady Dick.
The fact that he took Dorothy's slipper and put it on as a jacket,
this
and a shirt.
Sure.
He's going to enjoy Toronto so very much. How I feel about this is...
Oh, wow. The whole red in Toronto. Wow.
Yep. I have not watched Dereck Lively nearly to the point as you have, so I'm not going to speak too much on that. But I do think the idea of the lack of athleticism that this team has had factors into this, right? And the idea of positional need and the ways in which you look at this draft and there wasn't a lot of bigs that were available to you, and with the understanding that we have gotten the rumors and the scuttlebutt about the ways in which this team has tried to go out and find bigs out there on the market and, in the trade market, and have not had the most success in finding somebody that fits the profile. I understand how you get a guy and go, there's a lot of upside here, and you trust in the development of this team, because you can talk about a lot of things with the Mavs. I have to give them credit. Developing guys, even, guys that you did not think had a lot to be developed, they've done fairly well. Now, the tough part about it is the timeline, because you want to be good next year, but understanding the ways that, salary caps are, structured, especially with the CBA coming, I understand you getting a guy who has a lot of upside, who you anticipate fitting a role that you desperately need in your team, not just for next year, but for years to come.
Look, if you want to pick up a spot for him, pick up on the first North Carolina game. So watch Dereck Lively. Like, you have to go back and watch all the games, obviously. But if you have lots of time and you've already watched everything you want to see streaming, go pick up the first Dereck Lively game against North Carolina and go from there. Because right about that time is when you started seeing his usage rate changed quite a bit. You started seeing more effective stat lines from him, specifically in terms of like rebounding and stuff. He's still not going to blow you away with points in any of those games. But I think that first game against North Carolina is what like really announced his potential presence. He had 14 rebounds and 8 blocks in that game. So like when you talk about potential, though potential obviously can go nowhere, that's the game that sparked it, where everyone is like, this is why he was the number 1 recruit in the senior class.
So look, there's a lot of things that we have to, parse out, and I'm sure that tomorrow morning on KNC Masterpiece, that will be first and foremost. But before, we've talked a lot about the pick itself. How did you feel about the way that the Mavericks navigated their number 10 pick and trading back? Like, what kind of confidence does that give you in the front office?
Yeah, no, I actually really liked it. Putting aside the fact that my top selection probably was going to be Taylor Hendricks. And so when he went off the board right before number 10, and we're going to have Nico Harrison on the show tomorrow at 11. So
KG, how you feel about that?
I'm sorry, buddy. I did not mean to try to steal him from you.
That's cool.
We are going to have him. Hey, you got me though. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That's right.
Second best. Yep.
Yeah, pretty much the same. So we're going to have him on at 11, and I don't know if he can answer this or will answer this. I'd be really curious if Taylor Hendricks wouldn't have got taken at 9 if they would have gone ahead and pulled the trigger on that, because I know he's not like a center per se, but that's another player with a lot of size right there. And it's just, that people are going to track Kason Wallace. Now people are probably going to track Cam Whitmore against whatever Dereck Lively does, because I didn't get to see the medicals of Cam. Otherwise, I was really interested in him. I was hoping for Hendricks. I see some of the defensive upside for Kason Wallace, but the fact that you got off an awful contract in Davis Bertans, and make no mistake, that's a terrible contract, and you still took the same player you were going to take at 10 anyway. Like, putting aside just for a second how people feel about Dereck Lively, this is the player that you were going to take. And by jumping back, you got rid of a contract. So I do support that idea.